Welcome to Waterproof Records Podcast with Jacob Givens. It is I, yes, Jacob Givens, and we are back in Lazy Pickle Studios because I am welcoming on the show today my guest, Rome Ramirez. You'll know that name Rome because of Sublime with Rome. Yes, in 2009, Rome Ramirez joined up with the guys from Sublime to help carry on that legacy, which he did for about 15 years. Along the way, he also had the hit with the Dirty Heads, Lay Me Down, which was around 2010, I believe. But now, since Rome is going to be going on his own and Sublime is going in a different direction, I got the chance to welcome onto my podcast today to talk about what's next for him, his inspirations, and just some of his journey with Sublime and what that group means to him as a fan and also as a huge part of their legacy. So I'm excited to sit down with Rome and talk about everything with him. So let's get to it. It is time to talk to Rome Ramirez. Let's go.
Things are going to change. I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna...
Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records with Jacob Givens.
And if you watch the show, I always try to bring in an assortment of new vinyl on the background behind me for my guest. I oftentimes find out some of their inspirations. I found a couple of those along the way behind me, which were his inspirations, but then others I just choose out of a style influence standpoint of like what some of the artist's music reminds me of. But I, of course, also had to pay homage to my last guest in studio, Teen Mortgage, because I have their vinyl over here. But before we get into our interview with Rome, we're going to talk about DistroKid. You should be using the link. It's my link that I give to you, and it gives you 30% off your first year of all the music that you upload to DistroKid. So use my link, distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof, and save yourself 30%. I know you're working on that really beautiful banjo solo record where you sing in Kermit the Frog type vocal style. It's going to be great for you, and you're going to put it on DistroKid. So distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. I almost screwed it up there at the end, but I still got through it. Okay, you've waited. We've gone through a couple ads. I told you about DistroKid. We had the intro music. And now it's time to welcome the guest onto the podcast. Rome Ramirez, welcome to Waterproof Records.
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh.
It's an honor to be here with one of the legendary members of Temple of the Dads.
Oh, man, I can't believe it. You know about my 90s cover band.
Well, Temple of the Dog, like that album, you know, that was like a staple in our household.
Oh, absolutely.
So when I heard that, you know, you guys did cover band, like of just like 90s, like, you know, the good stuff.
The good stuff.
I was like, dude, hell yeah. I can relate with being in Sublime. Like,
I know,
right?
Right?
Totally, man. That was my MO. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on the show, man. It's great to be here.
I'm stoked, and in preparation for this interview and getting a chance to have you on the show, you know, I really spent a lot of time not only with Sublime's music but your music, and you've just created you have such a great voice and great sound, and the work that you did with Sublime, the work you've done on your own, all the way, you know, from the Dirty Heads to today. It's been just exciting to see your journey, and it's exciting to see like what's next for you.
Thanks, man.
You know, I'm really pumped about that.
I appreciate all the kind things you said. It's been an awesome journey, you know, so LA will always like hold a very special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Like, even though I no longer live here, there's just something about this place because I came to LA like most people come to LA, which is like anything's possible. And I'm like dumb enough to think that and like, you know, put my foot forward and give it a shot. And, you know, like through a strange, you know, circle of events and like meeting certain people, you know, led me to the members of Sublime and getting to meet them and, you know, joining the band and touring the world for 15 years. And, you know, it's like so many different doors opened up and like the story just kind of kept taking these turns. And every time I'm here in LA, like I can't help but feel that same energy of like being just young, full of wonder.
Yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
Still like within the city, no matter what the politics are or whatever, there's still an electricity within the community and within the city of Los Angeles that I think will always be there.
Yeah.
And it's that it's that feeling of like endless wonder. Anything's possible here, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people, because I, like you, I arrived here when I was 22 years old. You were 18, I think,
Yeah.
when you got down here. Born and raised in Fremont, California, up there?
North, yep.
Up there.
Hayward and Fremont, yep.
Nice. But I did the same. I arrived here when I was about 22, and I was an aspiring actor. So I had the same, like, I thought I was going to come here and be like the next movie star, but now I look like a Make-A-Wish Paul Rudd. You know, like that's what I
You're your own
like.
movie star now. You're your own boss. It's even better, dude.
Totally. But I moved here and I had that same feeling of like anything's possible. And I always tell people when they ask me, like, what is it like to live in LA? And I want to see if you agree with this analogy. I said, this is what it's like to live in LA. It's like you're at a casino and you're putting coins in like this. You have like 500 coins right there and you're putting them in, you're pulling, you're putting them in, and you lose every single time. And then you're down to your last coin and you say to yourself, you go, after I spend this, I'm up, I'm out of here. You spend it, you roll, you win 501 back.
Just enough
to keep playing.
To wet the whistle.
And that's what it feels like living here. Is it's like every day you go, you try. And that moment where you hit your limit and you say, I can't do this anymore. Something happens.
Yeah.
And you're like,
the phone rings.
Yeah, the phone rings.
Dude, that's so true. That's so true. And I think like part of making it, so to speak,
right,
is you got to enjoy that. Like, I mean, it sucks, of course, but like part of you's just got to be like, man, this is what it is. You know what I mean? And I think for like the people, and I can relate to this, is like when that starts to affect the art, you know, whatever it is that you're doing out here, when that starts to affect that, like, then it's kind of time to be like, oh, maybe this isn't my spot anymore, or maybe I need change or whatever, you know? But you know, no matter where you go, like that's what this entails is just kind of like that like you're just putting in this token, and we haven't even started talking about the social media algorithms yet. Totally. That's a whole other casino where like
100% that got built in the past 10 years. That's a new feature.
You had 500 tokens out here in LA, which is actually pretty modest or pretty generous out here.
Yeah, maybe.
But in the social media, they just give you a plastic card just loaded with as many as you want. I mean, but you know, I guess it's just about like, you know, being able to handle the punches, and at least out here in LA, like the weather's like so much better to handle the punches in, you know.
Yeah, and another good thing about here is that everybody's a dreamer. There's something in the water. Yeah. So you're surrounded by people. I mean, once you get past the fake shit, right? You deal with that. You learn to maneuver that.
Well, you go through that in high school.
You go through that in high school. It's everywhere. But you find people who are dreamers here. And so you're constantly surrounded by people that are trying to make things happen. And so that fuels you.
It's that energy.
I mean? Yeah, it's that energy.
Totally.
It's really amazing.
That's why I love it here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like... That's so alive, always. From the youngins and like even to some of the OGs, man. Like, you know, some of my friends out here, like shout out to John Feldman. Like, you know, he's an OG, and dude, his drive is insane. Like he's still waking up and getting it. Shout out to Dave Bassett. He's another producer out here. It's like the same way. It's like some of these dudes, like especially out here in LA, because they're with the electricity. They're dialed in with that energy. It keeps you like not young, but it just keeps you hungry. It keeps you like wondering, you know? And that's important, I think, just for people in general. Like, and it don't have to be in LA, it could be anywhere. For me, it was leaving LA and going somewhere opposite of that, you know, a little more greenery. And you know, where the wonder started to fill back up again. You know?
Good.
And that's kind of where I'm at now, you know, and I feel like I'm back with that sort of energy again.
That's good. Yeah, you said something that's really important about loving the journey and loving it as it's happening. And that's something that I feel like comes to people at various stages in their life. It came to me a little late because I think that I was deceived by this notion of coming to LA and wanting to have something come true and thinking, once I get insert here, then I'll be happy. Once I get this, then I'll be happy. And it really took 20 years of that, of arriving to a place where I'm just happy with what I'm doing day to day. And that's where things changed for me.
Right.
Was once I was like, I'm fine. I'm enjoying myself now. And it was like suddenly the world responds to that. I don't know what it is.
Man, you know, well, you changed the way you see it too.
Yeah.
You know, so it's you know, it's like that saying, like when you change the way you see things, the things you see change. Like,
it's very true.
And you know, so like, you know, the world, the universe, whatever you decide to, you know, insert there as your noun, you know, it feeds that back to you.
It does.
I feel like, and you're more susceptible to those types of opportunities and yeah, man. I mean, it is like super important to kind of like keep that sort of like level-headedness of like, gratitude. Is like a really big thing about it. Because especially when you're comparing yourself to other people and
Always.
other, your friends in town are doing things that you want to be doing or whatever. It's like that shit can get to you, man.
It really can.
And it's like you just kind of, I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, but like the saving grace is always like, wait, why am I doing this again? Oh yeah, because I love this shit.
You love
know
this
what I
shit,
mean?
100%.
Like, that's like that will always get you through it. I feel like
I think you're right. And who knew that we would get so philosophical out of the gate?
I know, dude,
I
it's
thought,
like 5 minutes
I
in.
have guests on this show and we're just talking about bands and music and stuff. We're literally, in the opening of this episode, we are solving life for you. So I hope you're taking notes. No, I love it. It just means that you and I get along really well.
Totally, man.
It's
And
amazing.
I mean, we're both we both love LA.
Yeah.
LA gets a lot of shit.
It does.
Like especially
It does.
recently, and
Yeah,
I don't know
for sure.
I'm not one of those people who moved from LA and I'm like,
Fuck LA.
yeah, dude. I don't know if I can cuss, but all right, yeah.
You can cuss
I'm
here.
definitely not
You can
that,
cuss here. No, it's okay. I'm a dad. My kids hear me cuss. You're a dad now.
Oh yeah, they hear me cuss plenty.
Yeah.
dude.
How many kids do you have?
3.
3.
Yeah, got an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
What about you?
I've got a 16-year-old and a 10-year-old. 2 boys.
Tell me it gets easier.
So I've been
Different kind of hard.
So do you have boys, girls?
2 boys, and my youngest is a girl.
Youngest is a girl. Okay. Yeah. So, you've probably heard all the cliche stuff, which is like, little girls are easier because little boys are like, if there's like a ledge, they will jump off of it. Yeah. Whereas like a little girl looks at it and is like, I don't think so. And but then it kind of shifts, right? Because as the boy gets older, he gets kind of like this, like,
It's so true.
And then things get more complex with the girls, as I've been told, in high school and with their other ladies, and like the things are conflicting, and there's a little bit more of that comes into play as a dad. So,
I'd rather deal with just the noise and the barrage of shit all over the house all the time than deal with puberty and boys. My little girl, right, bro. Like,
right. I know.
That's not even a question. I tell her all the time, I'm like, her mom's like, don't tell that to her. But I'm like, I just want you to grow up and like live with me. Yeah. Like always. You can always live with us. You can be that like 40-year-old woman who's got like cats and just like live in my house. And we can watch movies. Like, you don't need another guy. Like,
of course.
I just like, she's my little girl.
That's every dad. I love it.
I don't want to let her out of my hands.
I love it.
That's life,
That's beautiful.
But no, man, it's that was like just the greatest chapter of my life was like becoming a dad and like going down that road and just merging those 2 worlds of like rock and roll and like family and like trying to understand how they can coexist. It took me a little bit. But
are you saying? So I'm curious because people always ask me because I have this known as this '90s grunge and alternative, known for my music love and obsession and passion. So everybody's always like, "Oh, your kids must love all the bands that you're into," and I'm like, not at all.
Dude.
Literally, that is the greatest tragedy of all, is that like, now my son will hear this.
Made me feel so much better.
Yeah, my 16-year-old son, he will say, if he saw this footage, he'd go, Dad, that's not true. Dad, I think your stuff's pretty cool. But it's like, if I sit there and I crank the Smashing Pumpkins or whatever band for him, he's always like, yeah, it's pretty good. All right. I don't see that same love. And then the stuff that he loves is totally different than what I'm into, and these YouTube artists that they're into. And I'm always like, we try to have some crossover. And then my 10-year-old verdict's still out yet. He loves everything his older brother loves. But what about your kids?
How good is it though when you land one?
Oh, it is great.
When you get one and they're like, Dad, what is this? This is the best.
That is the
feeling in the world.
Dude, it's like a drug.
It's the best.
I showed my son this band called Explosions in the Sky, which is like post rock, like instrumental, very big walls of sound.
Can't hate that.
And I don't know if you can see this in 4K. Can you see how big those goosebumps are?
Yeah, you can off-road that
because you can off-road.
It's effective.
I showed it to him, and he was like, I love this. And so I took him to see it. I took him to see that band live together, and we had this night together. And I'm gonna cry because it was like I looked over at him, and he was loving it. I was like, "Oh, we have this great crossover.
This is what it feels like to be a good dad." Because you don't get those ahas very often.
No, you don't.
And when you do see something like that, like I have a picture on my phone. That's my thing.
Yeah.
it's my oldest son teaching my daughter how to play the piano riff that she's trying to play. And he's not even piano guy, but he's just got it like that. And I'm just
Dude, come on.
I just had dinner. I'm like, dude, I won. Richest guy in the freaking world right here. Like,
richest
balling.
guy in
Look
the
at that.
world.
Like, that's it. That's
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, like for me, dude, so I just Cashmere, I won with that one recently.
Okay, yeah.
Cashmere, like, cause my oldest, he's like into his like weird YouTube shit.
Yeah.
And my youngest son, he's 6, so he's into like, just rock and roll.
Yeah,
you know?
whatever's
and my
rocking.
daughter's down like Super Kitties and like Scores and stuff. But like when you get like the one that unanimously everyone's just like run that back, Dad. Like
Yeah.
that was Cashmere, dude. That's like the like Led Zeppelin. How could you hate that?
That's timeless.
Yeah.
Timeless. I mean, when you
Timeless.
hear that opening,
All genre.
dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun,
Everybody,
dun-dun-dun.
dude.
Oh, how can you not love that?
You're a Lil Wayne fan. You're a Meshuggah fan. Like it don't matter, dude. Like
I love it.
Cashmere, you're like I'm in, man. I'm
All
in.
about the cashmere. So,
It is.
so for the most part, you're in the same situation. Whereas it's like, we have the things that we love, and you're just like fingers crossed, hope some of this translates over to our kids. But I guess we'll never know, because these influences that we have on them, they'll manifest throughout their life, right? Like what
Dude,
happens
100%.
when they're older and they hear a song that reminds them of you, or they hear you, and they're
Yeah.
just literally like,
It's in them.
cats in the
It's-
cradle in the silver.
It's in them. Because it's like it's like food that we feed them to grow
Yeah.
up with. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It trips me out, but I've been really thinking about like the kind of music that I write now. Like,
Yeah.
because now I'm in this place in my life where I'm like, I'm not really heady with where it's gonna fit.
Right.
I'm just like, just write the shit you hear in your head and put it out.
Yes.
And just see what happens.
Right.
So in this place, like I'm listening to this music back, like almost as a different person. I try and listen to like, my music back, like the mixes and the masters. I'm like trying to put my thumb on it, and I'm like, this just sounds exactly like how I grew up.
Yeah.
It literally sounds like the music that my mom and dad were playing in the house.
Yeah.
And you get older and you're like, well, I like that Supreme songs was cool. I do like that. Painted Black's pretty cool from Rolling Stones,
Yeah.
but Sublime, man,
Right.
like Nirvana,
Right.
and like that, you get your own taste and your own development, and then as you get older, you start to like, what's up with
Totally.
that album that Dad would play? Like,
Yeah.
what's up with Parliament and Funkadelics? And you start like cracking back that stuff that kind of like brought you up.
Yeah.
And as a writer, as a songwriter, that's a rad experience, because I feel like that happens to like listeners anyway.
Yeah.
You like start to just kind of go back to how you brought up sonically, and but from a writer's perspective, it's
Yeah.
a trip, man. It's like kind of fun because you're kind of pulling in some of the past.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, because back then also, like there were no rules to you.
Yeah.
As a listener or as a songwriter,
Just free thinking.
you're just free thinking.
Yeah.
Like you weren't even made fun of yet, like
Yeah.
for listening to shit, So you were just like, hey man, I really like this song. And
Yeah.
and so to circle back to that is like it's just a rad feeling,
Yeah.
to like be in the studio and like in my studio every morning. I wake up, get a cup of coffee, and drop the kids off from school, metaphorically and literally, and then head to the studio, and I just pull out my guitar and I'm like, let's try and channel a song from the gods and put it out in the world, and but having that sort of like free reign again, where you're just like just write some good stuff, it's a good feeling.
I love it. Well, this is the perfect transition for me to take you back now to Rome's childhood, because we've been talking about your kids, talking about that influence we had from parents and the music that we hear and how it manifests itself. But when I ever have a guest on the show, I ask them what's their waterproof record. That term is just something that my 3-year-old, when my 6-year-old was 3, he called my future record store Waterproof Records. So that's why I call the show
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, and so it's just stuck.
It's actually a really good name.
Yeah, I love it too.
sounds good.
I know when he said it, I was like, hell yeah.
Conjures up good imagery,
Right? It does. And so it became this thing. And so now I use it as like, okay, this is the record that usually when my guests, you're a kid. Predominantly, it seems to be like a teenager, because that's like you're getting hormones and you're switching things over, and you're not only listening to like stuff on your own. It's not just what's on the radio. It's like you're making choices. So I asked people, what's the album? And so when I was having you on, I wanted to know what your waterproof record was, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised in the slightest to hear that it is
It's self-titled by Sublime.
self-titled by Sublime. I was like, well, of course it is. He's made an entire career out of it.
Dude, that was like, It changed everything.
Changed everything.
I mean, because I grew up in the Bay Area, in a pretty gang-heavy town, and that was like kind of what it is. Like it was rap music, and then
Yeah.
you know you'd be a gangbanger,
Yeah.
or you get a job at the New Me car plant. You know,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you get smart, cross the bridge, and go over to Stanford, but usually you stayed on the east side. So that was like kind of what was laid out. And my family, we were born up in Northern California because my dad got relocated from his job from San Diego. So all of my family is down in San Diego, is in Southern California.
Oh, gotcha.
So we were all kind of out of place being in NorCal. And as a person, as a young man, I really connected with Southern California culture because every Christmas break, every Thanksgiving break, every summer break, every spring break from school, we were in San Diego hanging with our grandparents and our cousins and our family. We knew nobody up there. So, it was just like, I felt just so much more connected to SoCal, even as a young man. And by the time I was down there, I was like 12 years old, and I was like in sixth grade. Or I was in fifth grade going into sixth grade. It was that summer. And I was down there at my uncle's house. He lived in a trailer park out in IB in San Diego. And he was like, I had like my Walkman, and I was like heavily into rap music at the time, and then I kind of dressed like how I dress now. And
Same.
And we circled back, bro.
Back.
And he's like, yo, Mijo, check out this CD that I have on the rack right there. It's got green letters on it. It says Sublime.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna really like that. And I went over to the CD rack and I looked at the cover, and it's got the clown sitting there like naked with the 40 over his like dick, and I'm like, this is sick. And I popped it in my CD player, and I just like love at first sight.
Yeah.
Like, cause I've always been a fan, even cause the way my parents listen to music, like it was very diverse. So like, we have like some rock and roll, we'd have some reggae music, a lot of Bob Marley and Peter Tosh in the house, a lot of Supremes and Motown. And with Sublime, I was listening to this album, and it's like it's all of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes even in one song.
Totally. With
you
the
know
changes.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So like as a young man, I was like 12. That was like crack to me, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, this is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Mind blowing to me. And it was like Southern California, drenched. I'm up in cold ass NorCal with a bunch of gangsters, and I'm like, man, this is tight.
Yeah.
These dudes are like skating and like they're at the beach. I'm like, this is the life. Like, so I'd go up to NorCal immediately that following month. We had to start school in September. I was like, I want to get a guitar. My dad had a friend who had a used guitar. He, let my dad have it or whatever, and I started playing guitar, and I just wanted to learn how to play those Sublime songs.
Yeah.
And dude, just like I spent like the next like 10 years of my life just trying to convince people to join a Sublime band.
Well, it paid off, clearly.
And then finally I just run into them,
Damn.
But
I wish I'd focused that hard on playing Smashing Pumpkins songs, because maybe I'd be in the Smashing Pumpkins by now.
I think they did have like
They
that
did,
whole,
and I
dude.
auditioned. I
Okay.
didn't really audition. What I did was I made a video of me playing a bunch of riffs from their songs, and I posted the video of it, and that was like my blanket audition or whatever. But
Dude,
I was like, I knew they wouldn't have chosen me, but that's okay. Congratulations, Kiki Wong.
That's a thing now. Primus just did it with their drummer.
I know.
This is a thing.
This is
now,
a thing.
which I think is kind of rad. A lot of people think too that like, did I do like a YouTube audition for like joining Sublime? And man, I'm really glad I didn't, because I don't think like, well, one, they would have never done that, but two, like, that wasn't how this whole thing. I don't think I would have got the gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
you were a part of that community.
Yeah, and I met Eric, and he I never ever really had that moment with him. Like after I joined the band, I've definitely given him that love, but prior to that, I never wanted to ever fan out on him too hard.
Right.
I always kept my cool around him, especially as I was getting to know him. But he knew I was a big ass Sublime fan. He can just tell.
Yeah.
And we'd be jamming and stuff, and I think that's what he really loved about me was like I wasn't like a direct copycat of like what they do, but I was heavily inspired by.
Yeah.
And Brad is the whole reason why I even started singing. So like a lot of my inflections were very similar to his, and so it was just like a really natural kind of kind of way of like falling into them and joining the band. But man, if it was like through a YouTube video, like the way it is now, like
Right.
there's so many freaking talented people in the world.
You
like,
kidding me?
You'd be smoked, dude.
When we were kids, like you play guitar, right? You got your Guitar World magazine. You open up your tab or whatever it is, and you try to figure shit out. And you're like, well, at least I'm good. You go onto Instagram now, and there's dudes that are like, and you're literally like, is that kid 6?
Just put it back. It's like,
forget it.
dude.
I'm not even trying anymore.
I know.
It's got to be so hard,
dude. It is. And honestly, I remember that moment because I didn't start singing until I was like 16. Like, I heard Sublime, and I just wanted to play guitar.
Right.
I wasn't like a singer guy yet.
Yeah.
And after Sublime, I was just like, it was like a couple years later, I was like 13 now. Now I just want to be the baddest motherfucking guitar player in the world.
Yes.
Like, thanks Sublime. Now I'm trying to go into like Yngwie Malmsteen world.
Oh,
like,
I was wondering who you were going to turn down.
Like Dream
I was
Theater,
like,
John
Yngwie.
Petrucci world. Like, dude, and I was going, okay?
Yeah.
I was learning my stuff, like, and that's how I learned how to play, guitar as
Good
efficient
guitar,
as I can. It's like,
Yeah.
because I was really heavily into like metal and learning
Totally.
how to play freaking dope ass solos
Same.
and learn how to play metal guitar. And through that, like, in there, like, I just there's this kid that I went to school with. His name was Mark, and he just would play that guitar like it was just a toy, just up and down.
Just had the gift.
He just freaking had that.
He had it.
And I knew, and I played a lot. Like,
Right.
I mean, I'm like one of those dudes who did like 4 to 6 hours a day on his bed playing guitar every day. And I was just like, I'm never going to be that good. If I had Instagram back then, oh, dude, forget it. I probably would have quit. I'd be working at that Numi plant. Like, it would have been a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But, like, so because of that, I was just like, well, maybe I'm not the next Yngwie Malmsteen, like I'm just, try writing some songs and try that thing.
Yes.
So I'm glad for that.
I'm glad you did too, because
Same.
because I was wanting to be Satriani and Vi and all these, and I was like listening to Metallica, and I wanted to be like Kirk Hammett. I was wanting to shred and just all of that stuff. And it was really, and I think this is what we all discover, right? Is it's like, what do you want music to do for you? Like, what do you want it to be in your life?
Yeah.
And I think that the feeling of writing a song and like carrying your voice in it, that's where we're led to be. And you go, I want to do that. And the guys that do make it look like a toy, that's their role. Like that's
what they do.
That's what they do.
So we get inspired to try and do that and then fall into songwriting.
Yes, exactly. When you said that, Sublime self-titled was your waterproof record, it was the one that was inspired. I was curious about what age, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, so you're younger. I was like, when this stuff is dropping, you're a little kid. But finding out that it's like 5th to 6th grade, I'm like, okay, that's you.
Yeah, I was like 11.
Yeah, like
11.
there's some shit on there that was probably
like
like
8-year-old, and there's no freaking way I would let him listen.
Right?
To
That's what I was gonna say. It's like self-titled. I was like, there's got to be some stuff on there that were like blew your little kid mind. Like, you're like, what is he talking about?
Well, you know what though? To be honest with you, bro, like, and this is something that I'm kind of realizing, like going back and watching movies with my kids.
Yeah,
there was a lot of stuff that I watched and heard which is also kind of to paraphrase that. It's also kind of affecting the way I've been thinking about parenthood lately. But there's a lot of things that I watched and heard as a kid that just went right under the rug. Like, or right over my head. Like,
I had no idea what it is.
Didn't know what it was. Like, you go watch Austin Powers, and I was laughing my ass off at 12.
But didn't know what
the hell that even was.
Don't know what these jokes are.
Talking about being Randy. I don't know what the hell that meant, but he said it funny.
Yeah.
And then you go older, and you're like watching this shit back, and you're like, that's amazing. I know exactly what he's talking about. Right. There's all these little like innuendos or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, with like in terms of music, like I'll be kind of picky about like what kind of songs like my kids are listening to, or what the message is. And then something will slip by, and then I'm like, ooh, but then I'm like, man, you won't even remember this.
They won't remember.
2, you don't even know what the depth of that even means.
Right.
You don't even understand that concept yet.
Over your head.
You haven't even experienced what that metaphor even means yet.
I know.
So whatever. I
love it.
We're listening to some Eminem today, baby.
That's so great. So you're inspired by that. You become a guitar player. You're writing some songs. You're growing up, and then you decide to, move to LA, pursue a career, and then before you know it, after getting to know Ed and getting involved in this, you're now in Sublime with Rome, and that's been your life for the past 15 years it was?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So was it always kind of a pinch myself moment every year?
Always.
Like just always?
Always, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like because of the reason I got into music.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like something where I was like, say it was like the Deftones. I fucking love the Deftones.
Yeah.
But I don't like know them like that.
Yeah.
Like I, you know, I could study to be the guitar player and like try and get that audition and maybe I'd land that role or something and be like, that'd be sick. But like with Sublime, it was like religious for me.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, it was personal. It was a
Sure.
thing. And that was like one of the things that was, well, it was always, that was the top thing of the reason why no matter what, you know, like within the band, you know, like over years, you know, we start to grow in different directions. And the one thing that was always prominent for me was just like, I love this music so much. Selfishly, that came first.
Yeah.
I just love these songs and playing them for the people because it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And then it's literally the fans, like getting to like see that and be a part of that. Like just being on stage and like watching, you know, with Sublime, it was always this really cool thing where it was always 3 generations in the audience.
Yeah.
There was always like, you know, OG, and then there was like someone our age, and then like the youngin', like, you know, they're like 15-year-old or they're 16-year-old, they're about to the show. And to see like the effect that the music has on 3 generations at once is just, it's such a trip. It's a really beautiful thing. And, you know, that was like the thing always for me that was just like, I love this. And, you know, it obviously after time, you know, creatively, their legacy is just so locked in and it's just so amazing that it's like they have 3 hours of just bomb hits alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's gonna be the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, consistently, because that's, I mean, it's great music and that's what people want to hear.
They don't have to generate anything new. It's done. It's in.
100%. And, you know, creatively for me, you know, that was starting to get to that point where I had so much in me that I also wanted to write, just even experiencing this whole thing, going from like a band that was like on my wall to like, you know, filling up arenas and amphitheaters around the world and sometimes stadiums with them. And, you know, like there was so much stories and experience in there that I really felt like I had to share, you know, and it was kind of like my time to like put that energy into that, you know. But when it becomes such a huge part of your life, you know, that could be such a, you know, daunting move, you know?
Yeah.
But everything happens for a reason. And I feel like with the pandemic, that really put a lot of things in the focus for a lot of people.
It does.
But, you know, for me, that was like really the first time that we'd ever like not played.
Just stopped. Just slowed down. The whole world, we all reassessed. You sat still. And you went, what matters?
Yeah.
What matters most?
For a lot of us, it drove us crazy, you know? And for me, I mean, in the beginning, you know, I was like kind of figuring it out. I was getting like cocktail kits sent to the house. Like that was a thing, you know? But then after a while, I was like, all right, let's get back to work. Let's get down in the studio. But I didn't have like a Sublime record to write,
right?
You know, and like, you know, the whole time while I'm on the road with Sublime with Rome, I'm like going home and I'm writing records for like, you know, A-list pop stars and doing like that whole thing and leaving really no creative like kind of zone for me or space because I was having so much fun doing what I'm doing.
Sure.
But with the pandemic, man, that was just kind of like all that was on pause.
Right.
So it was just kind of like, you know, the world going like, what are you about? You know,
Right.
like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Let me figure this out.
You remember the pressure? Like everybody would say that was like so common at the time. Everybody would be like, well, now it's perfect. You can be so productive. You know, like I had a full-time job and all these people are like, oh yeah, well now you're at home and you can do all the things you dreamed. And you're like, except for this like absolutely debilitating fear of the unknown that I feel right now. I don't feel like being creative.
Yeah,
you know, like that was a really weird time.
Really weird time when you're like too scared to go outside.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of crazy.
I'm literally washing my groceries. I'm literally scrubbing them down. You know, it's like all this crazy stuff that we went through.
Go be productive and make that art piece.
Yeah,
you've always wanted to do.
go make that short film you've always wanted to make.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, but you know, from the moment I met you, one of the things that I could tell, it's evident, is you're a fan. You're a fan of music. You're a fan of the art, and you're a songwriter. You have all this great art you put out there, but you're a fan, and that's like that rings so true in everything that you did with Sublime. Is you were always a fan. And so your heart was always as a fan.
Thanks, man.
You know what I mean? And that
Totally,
is
yeah.
that is huge. Like, it's all about celebration and love of what we love.
Yeah.
And I think people see that and they're like, thank God.
Yeah.
I need somebody who loves something like
Right.
without any hesitation.
I mean, and also it's like, you know, it's like, why not like profess your love for something?
Right.
Like, you know,
Right.
if you do, in fact, like for me with music, I'm obsessed with music. Everything about it. The people who make it,
Yeah.
the labels that distribute it,
Yeah.
you know, the colors they use for the cover, the gear they use to record, all of it. Whatever has to do with it.
Yeah.
I love music. Music is my shit. I would be doing it if I was a millionaire. I'd be doing it if I was poor. Didn't matter. Music
Yeah.
is my language. That's
Yeah.
like the key to my heart. So it's so much easier to like be yourself.
Yeah.
And like go through the world when you like own the shit you love,
Yeah.
you know?
You gotta
And I'm just
own it.
glad mine's like music and it's not something crazy, you know? But like, you know, mine's music. And,
Yeah.
you know, like I've never felt like I had to be like cool guy, music guy, you know? I got a couple homies that, you know, like, well, you know, the mysterious card, you gotta.
We're
And I
anti-cool
get it.
guy here. We're
Dude,
anti-cool
I'm like,
guy.
I'm just like, dude, you stopped me at the airport. You want to talk about music? Let's go.
Let's
you know,
go.
like you want to talk about me and all that. Like I can get a little, you know, I'm like, oh, I get nervous. I don't know what to say back. I can only have
Right.
3 compliments. After that, I'm like, but. I mean, you want to talk about like what guitar I use to make
Yes,
the song?
yes.
You want to talk about what guitars you like or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just a big fan of that, and I think like those kind of people are like they attract.
Yeah.
You know, and in my experience, like the older I get, the more I realize like those are the people that I also want to like create with.
Yeah.
So I just try and keep like a circle of people who are as like enthusiastic about what they do as I am. You know.
Yeah. 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 You said somewhere in an interview, when I was preparing for this, I saw you say like when you were performing Sublime songs for those crowds and you'd see those people in the audience and you saw on their face, like it's taking them back, like especially for the older
Yeah.
people, like it's taking them back to very specific moments in time. And there's just a great gift in being a person participating in that experience, you know,
Dude,
taking
so
somebody
awesome.
back to these amazing times in their lives, and the way that music impacts people, and you share it with them and they go like, oh man, this is like the last song I listened to with my dad, or like this was something that was at my wedding, or when my first child was born, I played this for them all the time. And music just has that power over people.
You're so right.
And if you rejoice and you share it and you love what you love, I just think it helps lift us all up, you know?
Totally, and that's why it's so important to enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
what you're like,
Yeah.
you have to enjoy this shit because
Yeah.
you know, like so much of my job, like with Sublime, the last 15 years, a large part of the time was just listening to people's stories about Sublime.
Yeah.
And how the music, I mean,
I'm
because
sure.
I was like the vessel to like sing the songs
Yeah.
to these people for, 15 years. And, if they'd meet me backstage or at a radio thing or whatever, they'd be like, dude, the very first time that I heard Bad Fish on the radio,
Yeah.
me and my husband and da-da-da. And,
Yeah.
and I'd always listen. And I'd always, because I have those stories too.
Yeah.
And I always be like, man, that's so rad. And
Yeah.
like, thanks for like, accepting me to like to
Yeah.
sing the song. Like, and like, I feel like it may be easy for people to just be like, yeah, oh yeah, right, you heard Sublime. Yeah. Let me guess, you grew up in Long Beach, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, it ain't like that. It shouldn't be like that.
No.
It should never be like that. There's like you said, like it's a time capsule.
Yeah.
And especially with like, like something as specific as like fronting like a, legacy act, quote unquote, like that's cooked times 10. Like those
Right.
memories are locked into a time and place. Like
Yes.
I got thousands of stories from people like, oh bro, like me and my boys in college, man, we were slapping what I got, I'm
Yeah.
like 100%. Great,
Yeah.
man. Go
Yeah.
Sigma Kappa, But like, it's like, and you gotta love that. Like
Yeah.
that's dope,
Yeah.
Like that's cool. And I'm the guy that gets to sing that for you,
Yeah.
So now it's like, now I'm in this place where I get to like take all that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I've like amassed like my own little community and like fans, and like instead of operating at like, level 8 with Sublime, like we're at like level 4
Yeah.
and revisiting all these monumental things that I got to do with this other band.
Yeah.
I'm now getting back into doing them again.
Yeah.
But with me and my friends
Yeah.
and like my crew. And it's like, I
Absolutely.
don't know, man. It's just been like the most satisfying and like just adventurous journey. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Because I'm dying to know like what's next for Rome and like what's going on with you. But I do want to tell you this funny aspect of Sublime for me as a teenager that I always tell as kind of my anecdote of Sublime. So I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's no water nearby, no beach, right? So I remember when the songs were playing when I was growing up in high school, and I was like, I thought they were cool. I liked the singles. There was just nothing that really was like, I wasn't super into it back then. And I was like, I think this is pretty good. And then when I was about 19 years old, I'm on vacation on
There it
spring
is.
break. I'm in Pensacola Beach, Florida. I'm sitting there. I'm a couple beers in. I'm a little buzzed. I'm a little sun-soaked. I feel the rays on me. I hear the water going like this.
It hits you.
And somebody starts playing Sublime, and I immediately went like this. Oh, I get it. I literally got it. Like in that moment, I was like, oh, this is the environment.
You've been saved.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I get Sublime now, and I think I get reggae now. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, dude, yeah.
It was literally maybe because as an adolescent and the way I grew up, it was almost like my vibration had to learn how to chill the fuck out a
Yeah.
little bit to get it. Because I was like this.
I mean, in your defense, you know, I mean, you're in okay, you know, like you're in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
you know
totally,
what I mean?
totally.
Like Sublime and reggae music in general, like, you know, it's specific to
It's very
you know,
specific.
geographics.
Yeah,
know, like,
you do.
You're by the water. You're like,
I get
I
it.
want to hear some reggae. Maybe not so much like Seether right now.
No.
Like, I'm down for some like, you know,
No.
some Bob Marley radio.
Yeah,
whatever, you know.
So I had to
But
share that with you because I
that's
was like,
awesome.
that was the moment that it clicked for me because it was so much of music is about, you know, the environment, your headspace, what you're going through. You know, you fall in love with bands because you're in a breakup or, you know, this huge fight happens or this thing. It just influences it. And I was like, there was something so special about that I was like, oh, okay, I see the appeal. And so now when you're on
Totally.
vacation, if you're on a boat or whatever, you're near the water, you're like, yeah, let's put on some Sublime right now.
It's like the antidote, man. Just any reggae in general when you're
Yeah.
by the water is just like, this
Yeah.
is meant to be.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, let's now outside of that, that's been a huge chapter of your life, but now it's Rome. It's Rome.
Yes,
and
sir.
so what is happening next? You're building your own thing from scratch. We've got some music coming out of yours.
Oh, yeah. I got a bunch of music dropping. I got a new single dropping. I think by the time this airs.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so yeah, Slow and Easy's out with the Dirty Heads. Very excited about
Love
that.
it.
That for me, this is like, and the reason why I wanted to come back with like the Dirty Heads on this song, one, because they would just sound awesome on it,
Yeah.
but it's like, it gives me like the vibes of like Lay Me Down all over again.
Right.
And that was like the song that really put us on the map.
It was.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah.
I was like homeless in my van when I wrote like the chorus to that, and then we showed it to the guys, the Dirty Heads, and then they cut it, and then a year later, it's #1. And I mean, all of
Huge
us,
song.
it changed our lives.
For
you know?
sure.
And it just had that kind of energy where it was just like summer and it was feel good. And it was Rome. It wasn't like a Sublime with Rome production or a feature. So coming into this era now, I was like, man, how rad would it be to like recreate that history again? You know, I don't
Yeah.
how well it does on the charts or whatever is you know, irrelevant, but just the feeling of like getting
Yeah, it's for
boys
you.
back.
Yeah.
It's for me. It's
It's for
selfish,
you.
man.
It
It's
is.
like I want that love and that community again, and like it just feels so good to do it with your friends. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's like and seeing my boys, like they've had tremendous success over the last 10 years watching the Dirty Heads, you know, just sell out amphitheaters across the country and stack up #1s, and you know, it feels just as good. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when your boys are getting it like that,
Yeah.
you know, or your girls or whatever. It's like it's the man. So I wanted to encompass all that energy and just kind of put it on the record and give it to the fans, because I felt like that's the song that just really kind of encapsulates that feeling.
Yeah. I love it. Are you going to be touring, playing?
Yeah, man. So got a big old East Coast, West Coast tour that I'll be announcing. I mean, might be out now. I don't know.
Yeah, we
Ollie,
have to-
what do you think?
Maybe.
Probably. Okay.
Maybe we're checking to make sure
We'll
we're not
see. Yeah,
sharing
yeah.
any secrets.
You
They
know?
got to kill me after I do this interview. Like, you're not supposed to know.
No, we're breaking it here right now. Going on East Coast, West Coast, full U.S. tour.
I love
this
it.
fall, baby. It's going to be awesome.
All right.
Stopping at all of my favorite places in the country. Yeah, man, got a EP coming and an album coming at the end of the year.
Nice.
And just a bunch of just really dope videos. I'm having a lot of fun, like just
Good.
filming like videos and making content. And
Good.
I know people hate that shit, but I don't know. Like to me, it's just kind of fun because it's like it's your vision.
Yeah.
Like at least for me, it goes beyond just the music.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was much more difficult with Sublime with Rome because it was already it already had its, its boundaries set. And, there's a certain integrity that always has to remain, because it's Sublime. You don't want to mess with that formula. But with me, it's like, it's whatever I want,
Yeah.
as long as it's good,
But, yeah.
But that's what I got my friends and family for, I'm playing records and the real friends, they'll be like, nah, man, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, this is the one. You know? So you got to listen.
It's important to keep those friends close, to keep you grounded, right?
Forever, man.
Forever.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, this is like one of those, I don't even know how long we've been talking because this is like one of those.
We just kind of jumped in.
We jumped in and I literally, this is like one of those podcasts where I feel like if there was no time limit, we could hang out and talk about bands, guitar.
Oh,
music.
I know. We didn't even jump into that.
I know.
We'll have to do a part 2.
We'll have to do part 2 because there was this. I watched your so Marty Schwartz that when you went on
Love
that.
him, man.
Love Marty, and
good.
I was watching your interview and I was cracking up the part where he was talking about first of all you're playing a beautiful Fender. You had this beautiful Fender.
Dude.
God, that thing was gorgeous.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think for that video,
It was the Bruno Mars.
The Bruno Mars guitar.
The Bruno. Oh my God,
yeah,
it looks
that model
so nice.
is one of the best Stratocasters I think I've ever played.
Ugh, it looked like it.
Yeah.
I could see the glistening fretboard, and I was like, I was salivating.
Feels so good. Too.
But it was a hilarious part where you're talking about playing "Smells Like Teen Spirit" and you were doing the do 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 do, and then your buddy played the chords, and I was like, man, it brought me right back to the first time you learned that a power chord was that stretch on the neck, and you're like, what the hell? And now it's second nature to us, right? But that first time you had to go like, you're like, what the hell?
Wait, so okay, you're a guitar player. Try I saw this on TikTok.
Yeah,
guitar players have a longer reach.
Yeah. You mean on the hand that I play with?
Yeah, your fret.
Yeah.
That's true, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not enough.
It's longer.
Because over the years...
Holy shit, you guys! Is this something that's on social media?
Yeah, it's on TikTok. No. This is on your social media.
Yeah. So this is my right hand. This is my left hand. And look right there. I'm a guitarist. My left hand fingers are longer than my right hand. That is crazy. I never knew that.
Here, right there. Say hi.
Well, how about that? Learn something new.
You saw it first.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Rome, this has been amazing. I have loved every minute of this time, brother. Man. Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
man.
you come back anytime, and I want to see you play if you're playing a spot here in LA. I want to come on tour.
You're on the guest list. Come on.
Hell yes.
Let's do it.
I love it so much. Thanks for coming to Waterproof Records. Yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
By the end of this, I'm going to become best friends with every person that comes onto my show. Did you see that? That was crazy. That was like long lost brothers. He may be 10 years younger than me, but we had so many moments on the show where we were just like laughing and connecting on these different things about being a fan and being lovers of music and just being parents and fathers. And I just had such a great time. Rome is a good dude. And from the moment he arrived here, we got along swimmingly. And I can't wait to see him pass through LA on this tour and go out and support him because I really do think he's a talented dude and deserves your attention and your support. So make sure if you've never checked out Rome's music individually, you definitely should. He's a good songwriter. He has a great singing voice and just really loved my time with the guy. So thank you again for joining me here today on Waterproof Records. That was a great interview. I had a blast. And of course, huge shout out to Pantheon Podcast. Pantheon Podcast, I am growing and getting bigger because of you, because I'm getting more listeners by the day, by the week, by the hour, and I'm moving into new things. But as you know from my last episode, I told you that I'm moving out of my home space and into a new one. So at least Lazy Pickle is still here for me. So maybe I even come here and just do solo episodes until my new studio is up and running at home. But we'll see what the future holds for me. Don't worry about me. I will survive. Make sure you are checking out distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. Get that 30% off. And once again, thanks for joining me here today. I can't do this show without you, and I'm so grateful how long you've been supporting me and listening to me. So make sure you're helping this show grow by telling other people about it, sharing it, sending links, sending them the episodes, writing those comments and saying, I love this show, giving me those 5 stars, all the things. I don't even like to ask for that stuff, but I kind of have to in order to keep this going in the right direction. So thanks again for joining me. Thank you again to Rome Ramirez and everybody who helped make this show happen today. I really appreciate it. And make sure to go check out his new song that he just talked about dropping. So let's give it a listen. And I'll see you next time on Waterproof Records. Bye.
Things are gonna change. I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna